Well, here I am for another Bible chat, and today I'm going to address something that I read very lightly. I'm an armchair reader when it comes to stuff like this. C.S. Lewis, Anthony Flew, and Richard Dawkins, and God. And how, in reading the little bit I do about them, I'm just going to share some of that and how they tie together. And it's so interesting to me how the philosopher, the thinkers in the world, through history, how they intrigue me, and yet, to tell you the truth, a large portion of what they read I don't get. So good thing I got the Bible to read, which is, to me, actually quite understandable. Not that I understand God in all his ways, absolutely not, and he tells me in advance that I never will. But C.S. Lewis was one who many Christians in the Western world are very familiar with C.S. Lewis and how he has influenced Christian thinking, and how, as a philosopher, he was never quite comfortable with his concept that there is no God. And but he was out to somehow prove that there was no God. But in the process, based on certain common aspects of humanity, other than the physical science of what he understood as needed to understand God and to believe there was a God, there was this thread of conscience that was running throughout humanity that disturbed him to the point where, wow, there has to be something other than the physical world out there. There must be something other than just nature itself that has somehow come to be without any outside intelligence. And that part of his thinking eventually led him to believe that there was a God. And not only did he believe in God, but he embraced the Christian faith and had faith in the Jesus of the New Testament and became a true testimony of that faith. And then one of the people he influenced was Anthony Flew, who for about 50 years was a real aggressive spokesperson against the existence of God. And he wasn't like a pure atheist. He just said there isn't enough physical evidence to believe that there is a God, so there must be no God. And that's what he propagated and argued throughout his life until around 204, when he wrote a book, There Is No God. But the interesting thing is, he stroked out the no and he said, there is a God. Now, some claim that he didn't write it. He had a ghostwriter. Well, how many guys don't have ghostwriters? But he did admit, he said everything in that book he agreed with. And of course, the philosophers around him who had idolized him for his strong stand on atheism, they were frustrated, and some of them even said that he's senile. And one of those was Richard Dawkins, who he influenced. And Richard Dawkins, he sees Christianity as for those that are weak and weak-minded and too simple to understand really that there is no God. But Anthony Flew said an interesting thing. The reasonable thing in our thinking is that it is very unreasonable to say there is no God. And one of the things that influenced him was the advance in science. He says, I do not believe in a God based on faith. I believe on the God because I believe in God because the evidence in science has brought me to the conclusion that it is too complex to just have happened by evolution. In fact, he signed a document in England to change some of the education in evolution to say this is a theory, it's not a fact, along with some other philosophers. I'm not sure exactly what happened to that, but that's what he did. And so here we have C.S. Lewis, Anthony Flew, and Richard Dawkins. And Anthony Flew, it's never been known that he actually became faithful to the Jesus of the New Testament. But he did come to the point where he was no longer an atheist, but yes, there is a God. And then Richard Dawkins, of course, still, as far as I know, is very outspoken about that there is no God and it's for the simple-minded. Of course, he has a problem in his theory because many people, maybe even more intelligent than him, believe in God. So that kind of creates a bit of a nervousness in his theory. Now, why is this important? I'm not even sure if I know what's important. But it's interesting to me how people who somehow through life have this obsession that there is no God, but in their honest research, they come to a conclusion there is a God. And this some thoughts on some of the stuff that I've been looking at over the last couple of years and shared it with you. God bless you, and know this: God loves you, and he calls us all to know him. God bless you.